Ça fonctionne bien? Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour tout le monde. On parle en français, anglais. Bonjour, bonjour. Anglais is good for you guys? Yeah? I love Guru. I will tell you, I wake up in the morning, I have a little bit of coffee, and then I reach in my fridge for my most favorite beverage called Guru. Incredible job. Your team has done phenomenal. It's great to be in Montreal with two wonderful Quebec-based, Montreal-based brands. Phenomenal. It's difficult to run a successful company, and Guru's done a phenomenal job. I love the branding, and I love what DAVIDsTEA has done as well. So I joined DAVIDsTEA back in 2018, latter part of the year. Came back to Montreal after being away for a lot of years, and I was pleased to join a company that the brand is phenomenal. The beverage, incredible. Talk about better for you because we share some similarities. And the fun thing about beverages is that you want to be careful with what you put in your body, right? We're all about health and wellness. We all want to live to be 150 years old, and you want to live a healthy life. And so it's important what you put in your bodies. And so DAVIDsTEA, an incredible brand, great people, and I felt it was the right company to join. I resonated with the people of the company, the brand, the work that the company had done, and I felt like I can have an impact. And I joined back, this is 2018, and how many of you guys in this room are shareholders of DAVIDsTEA? One individual? How many of you guys know about DAVIDsTEA? So you guys all know the story, right? Okay, so we're going to spend a bit of time, and I may go overboard, but I'll tell you a little bit about me, why I joined the company and what we've done, a little bit about the history and where we are today, and why I believe DAVIDsTEA is a great place for you guys if you want to put some money aside and invest in a little company, a little micro-cap company that's got a lot of potential. DAVIDsTEA is a great brand to do that with, okay? So back in 2018, DAVIDsTEA had about 200 plus stores. In fact, 250 stores in North America. If you believe the Euromonitor reports, if you read those, Euromonitor in Canada looked at the total addressable market for tea. In Canada, I think it was $1 billion back in 2019. In the US, it was $4 billion. And I'm coming from the US, and I had no clue what the tea industry was all about. But when I started to learn about the market space, I said, okay, it's a big enough market space to, have fun with. DAVIDsTEA at the time, back when I joined, had about $200 million of revenue, Canadian dollars. And if you believe Euromonitor in the Canadian marketplace, Euromonitor said that DAVIDsTEA had a dominant share, about 19% of the market space. And that was pretty good. In the US, we were a little less known. We had about 50 stores in the US. And that whole omni-channel environment in the US was kind of cool because when I had joined, I think US was breaking even from an omni-channel perspective. And in the Canadian marketplace, with probably about 186 stores, we had oversaturated the space. We were in two channels, online and retail. $200 million of revenue, we were losing about $40 million. Not a good recipe for success. And so came on board, and it was not too difficult when you look through the numbers to see where the potential of the brand was. Unit economics are phenomenal. So for you guys looking at numbers, if there's a lot of financial people in here, the unit economics in any business, depending on what channel you're in, are very important. And what tea had going for itself was a natural product, an organic product, and the product margins are phenomenal. Distribution economics, phenomenal. And so we had a G&A problem at the time that we kind of, over time, addressed. But I think the product margins were attractive enough for us to build, a long-term business around. And so, with 200 plus stores back in 2019, we were not in wholesale, what we call wholesale, selling into pharmacies, groceries at the time. And what was easy to somewhat do was to see where the problems were. Great brand, great following, loyal customers, fanatical customers, okay? Both in Canada and in the US. And so, we put a strategy together. Strategy was to stabilize the business from unfavorable headwinds and to double down on the things that DAVIDsTEA did really well. And I think, e-commerce was good. Our store experience was bar none phenomenal. I was mentioning this morning to some people I was talking to, T is like an ETF or a mutual fund. You need a knowledgeable individual that could educate the consumer about what the best ETF or what the best mutual fund is, because there's so many out there. And what we brought to the ballgame was knowledgeable, experienced individuals in a store that were able to explain the benefits of tea and to educate the consumers, both tea lovers as well as non-tea lovers, about the benefits. And that whole storytelling is vitally important. So we capitalized on that strength, storytelling in store, and that's where the experience is created. And we saw that there was replenishment online as a result of that in-store experience. And we also restructured those areas that we needed to. So all non-core activities, we said, well, do we need to do it, or can somebody else be better at it? And so we outsourced all of the, what I consider to be non-core activities at the time. Fast forward, 200 plus stores, we're losing $40 million. We've got a great following, and pandemic hits. And what do? We knew that we had to stabilize the business. We knew that we had a portfolio of stores that we had to jettison. And it was kind of difficult at the time to negotiate with landlords because it was all or nothing. File and we'll do something about it. And so it wasn't too difficult to actually use the pandemic as a lever for accelerated change. And so we did that. Accelerated the change. We shut down pretty much all of our stores except for 20. Underneath, call it Cadillac Fairview, right across Canada. The US marketplace, we jettisoned that. We thought that the vintage of our stores was such that whenever we did decide to go back into brick and mortar, we would just open up new stores. And that worked well for a couple of years. 22, 23, 24. I consider that all about restructuring and the consumer shift between an online consumer who now wanted to go back into store and experience what we had to offer. Great product at the core. And there's a couple of things I learned through that experience and that journey. One, we make a lot of mistakes, and hopefully we make them just once. What I learned through that experience was never outsource a core activity that's core to the brand experience. And so online was growing hand over fist. We had a third party we were utilizing for distribution. I think I heard distribution also in your experience, in your story. It's critical for a brand like us to control end-to-end, from vendor to consumer, reduce that time between getting the product at source to the consumer in the most efficient way. When you have multiple parties in the middle of it all, you rely upon them and their ability to execute effectively. And so we were a little bit disappointed. And so what we did was never again will we outsource, core activities to the brand to third parties. Somebody was asking, why should we believe you, Frank, if you think that you can take this company from losing money to making money? Well, like I said, we made a lot of mistakes. One of them was not insourcing fulfillment sooner. And so we did that. I think we did that in 22, 23. We insourced fulfillment from never having done it to doing it, 7/24 during the busy seasons. It's the best thing we did. When you look at unit economics, outsourcing versus insourcing, we were able to sort of modify our dynamics to the point where our gross margins are pretty attractive today. And so fast forward, we've got about 20 stores today in Montreal. I think I'm doing a bad job at the PowerPoints, which we'll get to in a minute. We got about 20 stores in Montreal. We've stated publicly that we want to double the footprint because we really believe that the return back to profitability is created through that in-store experience. And so along with that, what we did since 2018 to current, we've got a tremendous following in our grocery channel. So we've got about 5,000 doors in Canada, and we're trying to replicate the same success in the Canadian, that we've seen in the Canadian marketplace in the US. And with that, we believe, along with opening up the stores, along with continuing to have the flywheel effect with the online, we believe we can take a company, and I'm going to fast forward to the end because I know that you guys are financial people. Financial people, can you all see that? So when you look at these numbers, trailing 12 months, I think 24, 25, on roughly the same revenues, what we did internally was modify the cost structure to the point where you fast forward year over the other, It's probably a $9 million shift in EBITDA. That doesn't happen overnight. That happens through a lot of hard work with a lot of people at the office. And so I think what we did was stabilize revenues. If you look back a few years ago, we were losing $13 million in 2023. We lost about $3 million last year. And so this year, the plan is to return back to profitability by leveraging, call it the internalization of fulfillment, carrying on with opening up a few more stores, and just continuing to plow away in the digital world. The digital world is one of those things where I hate digital because of the economics and the whole marketing aspect that I think I heard somebody else say. But I think we can build on this foundation. And if I were to dream big 3 years from now with 40 stores, having replicated the success in our wholesale channel in the US marketplace, and just continuing to feed the online channel, I think this company really, should be more closer to the $200 million that we were back in 2019, 2020. And so if we get back to $200 million, which means that we've got a dominant share in the Canadian marketplace, we're doing a reasonably good job in the US, the economics under the revised cost structure would be really good for the company. Very good for shareholders as we look to make sure that we make money for all shareholders. So that's the brief story on the numbers. I can talk more about the company, but I'm going to pause there to see if there's any questions that you guys all have. Yes?
Can you tell us more about the unique store economics?
Store economics. Store economics are interesting. It's with 20 stores, payback's about anywhere between 12 and 18 months. And so opening up a store today, depending on where you are, unionized labor or not, the cost of constructing a store is a little bit more expensive than it used to be. The favorable EBITDA that comes off of four-wall profit is sufficient to have that recovery within 12 to 18 months. And then we've got a nice kind of experience, EBITDA, free cash flow, and you can do some simple math. You can look at our numbers and divide the number of stores by the revenue that we publish. You're looking at anywhere between $1.2 to $1.4 million with a recovery of 12 to 18 months. I really feel it's a great place to put money. I think when I compare our store economics with some of the best brands out there, I think we're at par, frankly. I think it's a great place to return the company. Back with those 200 stores, when you look at the Canadian marketplace, we had 186 stores in Canada. Now, DAVIDsTEA had grown. If you saw the trajectory, we were opening up a lot of stores. We happen to be in places where we probably shouldn't have been, okay? Type A malls or Class A malls, no street stores, no lifestyle centers. We do well where there's premium experience with consumers coming in with a purpose, and we find those economics really well. We know the sweet spot of our stores, not too big, not too small, just the right size. Where 70% of our traffic is loose leaf tea. That's where we make money. The margins in tea are phenomenal. We've got the most compelling gifts as well. There's a nice little slide here. A nice little slide. Oh, maybe not. I removed the slide that shows the gifts. But you will not find gifts for your family, for your friends, unlike anywhere else but DAVIDsTEA. Most compelling. We do that internally within our own shop here in Montreal. We're proud to be based in Montreal. We're a Quebec-based brand. And we want to be really the dominant player in the North American marketplace. I'll tell you one other thing as I remember what I wanted to tell you guys, because today's a very special day. You guys might not know it, but DAVIDsTEA turned 17 years old. And like a lot of teenagers, DAVIDsTEA, we got a short attention span. We don't really listen to anybody else telling us what to do. And we make a lot of mistakes. But there's that core rebellious streak that comes through us. That rebellious streak allows us to have this optimism for the future. And you got to believe that you can do great things. Now, what DAVIDsTEA wants to do, we want to be the most innovative tea company in the world. We want to bring greater wellness and sustainability. We do that really, I think, reasonably well. When I look at the company and the people that I work with, the tenure of the associates, incredible. You got to have the best teammates on a team to win. We play to win. And we want to make tea fun and accessible to all. That's about the brand. You know, when you walk into a store, it's not about sell, sell, sell. It's about how do we make the customer feel at the end of that journey. When you walk in, you're leaving that store feeling a lot better. And I'll tell you, we try to make sure that we focus on demand creation, on product innovation, enterprise culture, right? It's critical to us, and operational excellence. That's how we drive the business forward. And it's a great place to work because every day you come in and you can change tomorrow. And so with that belief of the future, that belief that you can return back to 200 million, that belief that the path towards profitability, the path towards taking a microcap of 75 cents as we're trading today, to be somewhere north of that. Somebody said 1x revenue is a good thing. If you do 60 million by 27 million shares, you're at about $2.22. Now, if you believe that number, how do you get there as quickly as possible? The quickest way there, oh, here we go, just a nice little slide. The quickest way there, use the omni-channel approach. Be very focused, very deliberate. Real estate, real estate, real estate. Get the best real estate that you can. Make sure that you've got great employees that can share that deep knowledge of tea, and that curiosity, okay? And use that rebellious streak to be different than everybody else, because there's nobody out there like DAVIDsTEA. So open up stores, generate free cash flow as quickly as you possibly can. Get that return on investment year over year. So 3 years, double that. And then just do a little bit in wholesale. I hate wholesale, by the way. I really do. We went into wholesale back in 2018 from 0 stores. We now have about 5,000. We're in Couche-Tard. We're in all the large stores. They're really good. I don't like not having control. I love control. Sorry, I love control. I love being the master of my destiny. I love having leverage. And when I don't have leverage, I'm very sad and I'm disappointed. I'm like the capricious, rebellious teenager. I am. I want what I want, and I can't get it sometimes, which is very frustrating. And in the wholesale space, I find very frustrating. The planogram changes, the fact that, you know, it's just on, and I despise it. But we had to go into wholesale because when we shuttered our stores out west, we needed a place for consumers to go in. And we thought we were doing this phenomenal thing, which I really love, which is a store-in-store concept. So with Rexall, London Drugs, we have more than just tea in a box. We have an assortment. We have hard goods and a bunch of other things. Anyhow, it's a great brand. Let me see. Are there any other questions? Because numbers are important. Oh, sorry.
I saw on one of your slides that you had a ready to drink. I think it's been discontinued. Any reason why?
You know, the addressable market is huge. Apparently, somebody told me it's $25 billion, and it's really good for you. So we tried. You know, somebody says that you got to put 2 liters in your body a day to be healthy. And, you know, we like our sweet spot, loose leaf tea, take home. We dabbled with beverage. It's a hard business. It's a hard business. You know, kudos to Guru for, like, it's a hard business. I mean, you got to get scale. Yeah, there's a bunch of things. You guys all know, if you follow the numbers, to be the best at something, you got to be really, really, really good. And I feel we're the best at loose leaf tea. I feel we're the best at bringing an incredible seasonal collection to consumers with the most incredible gifts. I think we do that well. That's our core sweet spot. We're going to dominate Canada. We'll dabble into the US once things, you know, loosen up with our friends down south. But yeah, I like RTD, don't get me wrong. We've always thought the convenience factor would work good for our customers. But at the end of the day, it's a very difficult business to make money at. Yes.
I see DAVIDsTEA like Starbucks of tea, kind of. But in the world of teas, who would you say is your biggest competitor?
Wow. You know, that's a phenomenal question. I'll tell you why. Because there is no competitor. There's no competitor. But if you flip back the clock, it's all publicly available. You can find it. It's fun stuff. There's a company called Teavana. So back in, I think they started operations in 1997. They went public a few years thereafter. They were acquired by Starbucks for about 600 million, 3x revenue, if that's a good factor. How many numbers people are in this room? A lot of numbers people? You guys all love numbers? Okay. I hate when I talk numbers. But yeah, 3x revenue. They bought the company. A couple of years thereafter, they closed it down. And why? The question is why? Why did they close it down? This is a huge, organization that spent a lot of shareholder money to buy a company and then shut it down. When you run a boutique specialty store like we do, like Tivana does, like DAVIDsTEA does, really, you reflect back, and it's really the deep knowledge of the store guides that can communicate. I go back to the ETF example. I grew up in financial services all my life, so the analogy is kind of the same. You got to have somebody with expertise that communicates to you why you have 120 teas on the wall, and you just don't do that by going into Starbucks and the person that's doing the macchiato presses 1 squirt, 2 squirt, 3 squirt, and here you go. That experience isn't there. So maybe they'll go back to that barista type, experience in store. But I feel that they couldn't do justice in the retail model that Tivana had or that we have. And so back to your question. We should stop this meeting because I got to go out and drive some revenues. Because I'll tell you, there's no competitor out there. Nothing. And so what's preventing us from being successful? Okay. Open up a few stores. We know exactly where we want to go. We've been there before. We had 186 stores. We know the ones we want to go back into. What are we doing here? Invest in the company, drive the share price up so I can go out, not in a bad way. Don't do this. You're not taking financial advice from this guy. Number one. But drive the share price up. I love control. I don't want to dilute the share interest of the rest of the shareholders. And so I want to raise new capital to open up stores. Help me out. Anyhow, so no competition in the Canadian marketplace. There's a lot of fringe players. Anybody can set up a tea company. Anybody can. You can.
Where do you buy
The leaves?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good question too. You're full of questions. Okay. Tea comes from all over the world, and it's a hard business to be in. We just had some vendors in today, and because it's grown all over the world, you got this climate change issue happening right throughout. Forest fires all over the place. And if you think it's kind of difficult to run a company with a couple of hundred SKUs, just imagine these guys. In any one of our products, which is the phenomenal thing of DAVIDsTEA, you've got about 13 to 15 ingredients within our products. And so those ingredients come from Madagascar, they come from Zimbabwe, they come from South Africa, they come from China, Japan. And so that supply chain, when I look at some of the core competencies of our organization, critical. And so we buy from all over the world. And yeah, fortunately for us, what's happening in the marketplace is really incredible. There's a trend towards, I'll use your words, better for you beverages, health, wellness, organic, no artificial ingredients. And consumers are really gravitating to a healthier caffeinated drink called matcha. Now, what DAVIDsTEA's brought to the marketplace that doesn't really exist, who's the guy that was drinking a lot of gurus in the morning? There's a guy. Yeah, try matcha. Try a hand. you can try it. You can have guru in the morning, matcha in the afternoon. But a hand whisk matcha, the stimulation you get from the L-theanine that's in the matcha itself, and the fact that we provide a flavored matcha. So if you like that plant-based kind of sense in your mouth, great. We got the best straight matcha, and it's all ceremonial because everybody calls matcha ceremonial, but it's not. We believe in being the tea authority in Canada. For us, trust in product is vitally important. Try matcha, you'll love it. You will love it. Now, what I love the best is the matcha sticks, something that we are first to bring to the marketplace. You just drop it in a nice, vat of, a little bit of, warm water, and you stir it up. It's phenomenal. Available at all your grocery stores in Canada. But anyhow, so matcha is a great product. There's a shortage of the market space, and I really believe product innovation is critical. Get the best people, open up a few more stores. The path towards profitability is there. I can see it. Any other questions?
One last question. Not for me.
No.
You have time for one last.
Yes, way in the back. Oh, we got 2 questions. Okay.
So, economics of the stores are great for related ones, but why not focus on e-commerce, which is
Oh, man.
why are you focusing on that and not on the other? I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm saying why.
One is you can see a path. You've got a bird in the bush, 2 in the hand, all those beautiful analogies you hear. We can see, because we've been there before, And so if I want to reduce risk to investors, to our organization, and to people I communicate to, the path towards profitability for me is easy. Go back into the stores you once were with an incredible experience. Now things have changed, in-store digital experience. Go back there. It's not a sure bet. It's a sure bet. The digital aspect, because of the changing consumer habits, and I told you that we're 17 years old, we have ADHD. A ton of people on TikTok nowadays have ADHD. I was just driving in this morning. People spend on average in the US 1 hour, on average is a lie, but an hour per person on TikTok. The attention span is ridiculous. We are on TikTok like a lot of other brands. You spend a lot of time flipping through, the conversion's not where it needs to be. The people that do make money, Google, Instagram, invest in them. For us, I think using the store as a gateway to reigniting the love affair that we've had with our customers since the company has been around is the way to go. We can spend money on paid media, organic media. I know too much about this nonsense, I tell you. But to me, the path towards profitability with lower risk, open up stores, will do great things. Okay. There's another question. I should have had the question and answer. I hate presenting, by the way. Let me see if there's any nuggets of gold in the, oh yeah. Summary, important, iconic brand. We spent a lot of money building the brand. Brand is everything. The market's huge. I told you about that. It's a phenomenal market to be in. We got positive sales momentum where we've stabilized the revenues. If you look through our release, you'll see that, what did we say? Something about our stores grew at 9%. Wholesale grew a little bit, a few percentage points. We tanked online, okay? Because it's hard to do online, but we tanked online. Overall, we're flat quarter over quarter, but positive sales momentum as we go into the busy season of Q3, Q4. Yeah, I want to make money. There's only one thing that's important in life: make money. It's the way it is, okay? You can look at this stuff. It's really cool stuff. I think you guys will publish this. Phenomenal stuff. Path towards the future is phenomenal. I love you guys. Drink a lot of tea. Okay?